Cold open question of the week, Gary.
Yes, sir.
We're expecting a snowstorm here in Northeast Pennsylvania tomorrow morning. And it got me to thinking, what is your must-have snowstorm snack? What are you going to the grocery store to make sure you have in the house on that snow day?
Ooh. Well, for snow days, you got to have some hot cocoa. So you're, something nice and warm with marshmallows. Got to have marshmallows in it. Or fluff. I used to like to nice scoop of fluff and dump it in the hot cocoa. And then snack wise, I'd say some popcorn. There's some, I know it's cold, but some ice cream, stuff like that.
For me, I always think of Middlesworth barbecue potato chips.
Oh, yeah. I don't have that here, so.
And I mentioned that at dinner, and Jill, who had gone to the store before, coming home today, but didn't send me a text message to say, hey, I'm going to the store. You want anything? When I brought it up at dinner that I was, liked Middlesworth barbecue potato chips for a snow day.
Yeah.
She goes, of course you do. She goes, because I was looking at them. She goes, because they're right next to the Tostitos that she bought.
Oh.
I said, that was me telling you to pick up the Middlesworth potato chips.
Exactly.
Which she did not. Anyway, life goes on. Let's start this show. Tonight on the Brian Lennon Show, we may be joined by podcast host of the Fightlete Report and Pro Wrestling Enforcer, Sean Lennon, who's also my cousin. And as we wait for him, we'll continue on as normal on the Brian Lennon Show on Substack. All right. So as I mentioned, our scheduled guest for tonight is my cousin, Sean Lennon, who is he's in Chicago. Now I'm wondering if the time difference is maybe doing something here.
What is that, an hour?
But, it's an hour. He's a Central Time.
Okay.
He is a podcast host for two podcasts. One is the Fightlete Report, which speaks to MMA fighters and promoters, and then also for Pro Wrestling Enforcer podcast, which obviously deals with pro wrestling. And so I wanted to have him on tonight to talk a little bit about the Royal Rumble, which takes place this Saturday in San Antonio. That's the WWE's big event, kind of kicks off the road to WrestleMania. So I wanted to kind of geek out a little bit tonight with my cousin and talk some pro wrestling. As we wait for him, though, we figured we would get started. Gary, before the show started, we were kind of catching up on last night's episode of Raw is 30.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched Raw for the first time in a very long time. So, I like I said, I didn't realize it was even the 30 year until you had sent the text, and then I was like, oh man, shoot! I'm like, all right, I gotta pull this up because they always have old school guys out there, and ones that I watched when I was years ago. So I was like, all right, I gotta pull this up. So, but we were saying, some of those guys looked a little worn and rough.
So Kurt Angle looks bad.
Yes. Oh man.
But X-Pac looks good.
Yeah, at
least according to your wife.
Yeah, and that's funny. He did, and for someone who's had kind of a rough life there a little bit, he didn't look too bad. Oktoberfest. Yeah.
Still trying to get rid of the Samuel Adams Oktoberfest, Gary.
So
that's what I'll be drinking tonight.
That's good. Well, hey, just think they never change the bottle, so even if you have them for next October.
I figure if I get them, my goal is to finish. I think this is my last one.
Oh, okay.
So I figure if I finish the Oktoberfest by the end of January, I'm still good.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, the Taker, I thought he he looked a little slow getting into the ring.
That's what I want to. When you brought him up, I wanted to talk to you about him. So they mentioned, I think they might have mentioned it last night. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay.
So I went and listened to it, and it's from January of 2021. And he was kind of going through some of his injuries and surgeries that he's had. And he had like both orbitals of his eyes like shattered.
Oh, jeez.
He's had both hips. He didn't have, I don't think he's had the total hip replacement. He's had like a new like ball kind of put into his thigh, his femur. And just listening to him describe some of the surgeries and injuries was like making me cringe just hearing him talk about it.
Yeah, I watched that one. Was what Stone Cold, when he used to have those, when he used to have guests on, he had him on there and they were talking about all this stuff, and I was like, man. But yeah, you could tell what he was trying to get in that ring, like. And then when he grabbed, was it LA Knight, whoever that ball is, when he grabbed him and looked like he was going to choke slam him and wasn't lifting, I'm like, I don't think he could lift him. And then that's when he threw him at Bray Wyatt, and I was like, okay, yep.
Well, he was describing one of the injuries he has. I guess it's some sort of like tendon, or I don't know if it's a muscle or a tendon or ligament in his like shoulder, which it snapped and it's gone.
Yeah.
And so he can't like extend his arm out to like choke slam somebody. It has to be like right in close.
Yeah.
So like he can do a push up, like his hands shoulder width apart. Like he can't go out and do a push up.
Okay.
And he was explaining like they did like an exploratory surgery for that to kind of find out what happened. And the doctor says like, I could fix it. He goes, but it would snap right back as soon as you tried something.
But yeah, I figured, so it was like when he had him there, I'm like, and he wasn't doing anything. I was like, he can't pick him up. I'm like, he's done. So, but then, like I said, then all the other group too, when those other guys came out, I found it amusing, with the whole, hey, I'm retired, I'm not fighting. And then they kept trying to.
Yeah, it was a little levity.
And then seeing all those old school guys in the back, playing cards and goofing around like that.
Yeah, those were fun.
Yeah, that's what, like I said, I watched a couple of the matches. Some of them I was just like, whatever. I was like, that whole cage match was kind of a waste.
Yeah.
Took all that time to bring that stupid cage down, and then there was never even a match. I'm like, seriously? You wasted all that time?
And it's probably a thrill for those, younger guys to kind of spend time with, with Ted DiBiase, Ron Simmons.
Yep.
Obviously Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan were there as well.
The one it took me a couple minutes because I couldn't figure out who it was. I'm like, and then when he came with the briefcase and said about the IR, I was like, oh shoot, it's Erwin R. Shyster. I was like, that's who that was. I'm like, it took me forever to figure out who that was. I thought he was one of like the old school ref or something like that. And then when he said that, I was like,
and that's
Bray Wyatt's father.
That's actually Bray Wyatt's father. Yeah.
The one radio show I used to listen to down here, the Drew Garabo show. On the show for a while there was Micah Rotunda, the daughter of Erwin R. Shyster and sister of, and so like she worked for the radio station right here, and so whenever like she would talk, because then when you look at Bray, when Bray Wyatt was out there, I'm like, oh okay, I'm like, yep, she looks like her, like you could tell that they would be brother and sister. Yeah, so I don't know, it was interesting. Yeah, I'd like to try to see maybe. Well, no, not they moved everything. They took everything off of the WWE network and put everything on Peacock.
Right.
So it's like, but I gotta look to see if my cable, We do get some pay-per-view stuff.
Your
So
Russian, your
I
Russian
might be able
satellites.
to check that out.
Comrade.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, on Sunday nights on A&E, they have like 3 or 4 hours worth of WWE programming.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably have A&E.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I said that.
So,
wasn't there a commercial with wasn't Stone Cold on there talking about
yeah.
one of the upcoming episodes or something like that? So yeah, I'll have to check
Yeah,
those.
and
I
those
see where you're
shows are
watching a
very,
couple of them one day.
yeah, they're interesting shows, and they're well done. As Gary's as we're waiting for my cousin to hopefully join us tonight, um, I wanted to congratulate you, Gary, on you sent a text earlier today.
I did.
You are filling your pool with water,
Yes,
and
sir.
not water from a hurricane.
Nope, nope. They came out. What was it? Not was it yet? Yesterday or the day before, they came out to clean up everything. So they came around. They cleaned up all the garbage that was laying around, and today they came out and put the Pebblecrete or whatever it is, the spray that they spray in the pool because there's no liner, so it was just the concrete, and then so they put the stuff down. So they were out here today doing that, and then they started filling. So by tomorrow morning, should be filled up because he said 14 to 16 hours it'll take probably to fill the pool.
So
So
you just have the water running.
yes, so it's filling up. Yeah, we can't stop it because if what he said what happens is if you stop the water now, it'll leave a ring around the outside of the pool, and
Okay.
it'll affect the stuff. So you gotta let it keep flowing. So I'd say by tomorrow morning, I mean it's filling up pretty quick. I mean when I was looking at it, like when I came out here just a little while ago, um, the whole bottom section of the pool is pretty much filled already.
Now,
So we're
how many
just
gallons of water will that take to fill?
I don't know. I don't think they ever said. It's a lot. It's gonna be
What's your water bill going to be in February?
it's gonna be a hot one. I tell you right now, it's been high lately because of our stupid one toilet that's been leaking again. So I can imagine what it's going to look like next month. So, but yeah, so by tomorrow morning I should be able to slow it down, and then I think they're going to come either tomorrow or Thursday to actually get the chemicals in, get the filter running and everything.
So they set everything up for you, so you're good to go.
Yep. So basically, by this weekend, we'll be able to use the pool.
Nice.
Of course, Friday is supposed to be freezing cold, so but Saturday and Sunday I think might warm up a little bit. So
And people in Florida, they never cover they never close the pool for the season, right? It's just
no.
kind of always.
Yep. Yeah, because people still use their pool because I mean if you have a heater, you just crank that sucker on and you could be using the pool. Yeah, you could use the pool all year round. Well, like I said, by next week, like say the next week or two, we'll be back up in the 80s and 90s again. So,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Now that stuff they had to spray in the pool, does that take a certain amount of time to dry before you're dumping water in there?
So that's what I thought, but no, they sprayed it today. They washed it down and stuff like that, and then they just started filling the pool.
Hmm.
So I guess it doesn't have to. I guess he said if you don't continue with the water, it would ruin it a little bit, but you got to just let the water flow through it until
Okay.
it's completely filled up. But no, yeah, that was. I mean, that's what I thought too. Because when I asked when Shannon said they were coming out to do the thing, I said something about them like, and then I guess she talked to them, and the guy's like, no, he goes once we're done spraying the stuff down, we wipe it down, we make it all nice and shiny and everything. He goes, then we'll start adding the water. I was like, okay. So yeah. So yep. Finally, and then the only thing we have left is a little bit of paver work that they have to. They're waiting. They're still waiting. They said probably by next week they'll have the other pavers in, so they'll be able to come and finish that. And then once they do that, that's it. We're done.
Nice. All right. Any sign yet of Sean?
Nope.
All right.
No,
We'll move on.
sir.
We want to talk a little football.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. It was a interesting weekend of football. I mean, there was really only, one true blowout game. Which,
Yes.
yeah, I was hoping that was going to go a little different, but that just didn't look like they showed up at all.
Yeah, they looked. It was like a 180 from the previous week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now in the what did you think of the Cowboys and 49ers, that performance?
Oh my God! Like you said, it's looked like a soccer game at first. There was like no scoring whatsoever, just field goals. I that kicker's done. I'm sure he's gonna be out of there. That last play, I don't know what that they should have just knelt down.
The memes the next morning.
Oh yeah,
they were killing me. I was at work just laughing because all the memes about Zeke Elliott and that he got steamrolled.
Oh yeah,
and they throw a pass for it was maybe 10 yards, and the guy got tackled right away.
Didn't do anything. At least if he flung the ball backwards and hoped that someone was there, but I mean,
he didn't have a chance.
Oh no, yeah, he's got walloped. But it looked like at one point when he was on the ground, it looked like he had the ball back behind his head, like he was going to try to do something, but he was already on the ground. So that was, and then that was the problem with that one is there was the timeout, and it was like it took forever, and you were just sitting there. And then when that all happened, you're like, seriously, I waited that long for that play.
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, that game. I hope the Niners play a little bit better than they did. In that, I mean, because their first half was not looking good at all. Like they couldn't get the ball moving at all. It just, and then I'm like, if you're playing the Eagles now, the way they've been playing, like they better step it up.
Yeah, the Eagles, as much as it pains me to say, the Eagles looked good, and so I think the 49ers have their hands full.
Yeah,
but I'll be rooting for the 49ers.
Yeah, so will I. That's who I'm picking. You know what? The Kansas City Jacksonville game, that was a lot closer than what we expected. I really didn't expect it to go like that.
Yeah, I mean, it helped that Mahomes was out for a little bit, although the Chiefs scored a touchdown while he was out.
Oh, okay.
But then when he came back, he was hobbled.
Yeah, I didn't get to really see much of that game. I was just catching it on my phone because I was out. But that's when I heard, like, I seen that he went out of the game, and I was like, oh shoot. But then it was like, oh, he's coming back in at the halftime or something like that, or I forget what the heck the news that I was reading. But they said he's probably not going to be, 100%, because they said it's probably high ankle sprain, and even Romo was talking about that, and he goes, no, it was usually with a high ankle sprain. I'm like, you could get through that game. He goes, but it's the next day where you're feeling it, and he goes, usually the next couple days. So,
yeah, I actually write about this in the kind of my predictions that I have coming out on Thursday or Friday on the Substack. And I talk about, before we lived here at this house, my sister-in-law and her husband lived here, and they had a dog, and the dog tore up the yard. And Joey and I were playing wiffle ball out in the back. And I was running and stepped in one of these holes.
Oh yeah.
And it was probably a high ankle sprain. I originally thought I broke my leg.
Yeah.
Like, I sent Joey into the house to get Jill because I thought I was like going to have to go to the hospital to get this thing set. And honestly, that ankle bothered me. I want to say it might have been a year, like, till it felt normal.
Yeah.
So, the way he got rolled up like that, I'm surprised his knee didn't get torn up, because the way his leg bent at the knee almost
That's
looked like he could have tore like an interior cruciate ligament or something.
that's what one of our friends said when they were out, that because they got to see it before they came out, and they were saying that, like, she's like, oh, I thought she goes, I thought it was like his knee, because the way it all bent, it looked like his knee also bent too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's gonna be, I mean if he's not 100, it's gonna be a tough game for them. Um, I mean I have Cincinnati picked for that game. They just went into Buffalo and did what they,
Smash them.
yeah, they just, Buffalo looked bad, but Cincy looks really good. So, I mean, I think they could do the same thing going into. I mean, they kind of have Kansas City's number. That's the only thing that's kind of
They do.
where I'm kind of up in the air with, because of, it's always hard to beat a team multiple times over and over again. But unless you're New England and you played the Jets, but other than that, I mean, it should be a good game. I mean, but yeah, like I said, if Mahomes ain't 100%, that's going to be a little tougher for them because their defense isn't all that great. The way Cincy plays, their offense has been looking good lately. So a little Cincy and 49ers Super Bowl. That's where I'm going.
All right. So you will be able to read my predictions Friday for Sunday's games. And then also Thursday, I have my kind of Royal Rumble preview
Okay.
scheduled for Substack. And that can be found all at the brianlennonshow.substack.com. Listen to all the past podcasts, as well as read all my my articles. Gary, when are you going to write an article for the Substack page? A guest post?
I don't know. I'll have to see if I can get a ghostwriter, and then I'll have her write it for me.
I'm sure Shannon or Colin would ghostwrite something for you.
Oh, Colin's not writing anything. I was looking more at Shannon. But yeah, maybe I'll think of something.
Something favorite bourbons, or Kentucky Derby drinks, or what's your Super Bowl, how much beer do you buy for the Super Bowl? Something like that.
Just depends on. Yeah. All right, I'll think of something. We'll go from there.
Any sign from Sean yet?
No.
Okay. He's gonna come on at 11 o'clock. Our 11 o'clock, his 10 o'clock.
Oh shoot! Yeah. Did you let him know that?
I put Eastern Time, Standard Time, Central Time.
I think even in my, I think in the Zoom meeting that I send, I think it says Eastern Time.
Yeah.
I would assume it does.
Whatever.
So yeah. Well, that'll. Yeah. What'd you do this weekend? Anything besides watch football?
Not really. I made a fire.
Oh. Nice
and hot one. Nice. And we had s'mores in the fire.
Cool.
And that was really it.
The one in the house, right?
Yeah.
In the back.
Yeah, I've been. I'm trying to read this book by Saul Bellow, and it's like almost 600 pages. It was published in 1953.
All right.
And I've just kind of been like, I've tried to read it like 2 or 3 other times, and I just never get through it. This time I was like, I'm just going to read a chapter a day. So at some point I'll finish it, and because it is like, it's kind of like dense, and you know, takes place like almost 80 years ago. It takes place like in the 30s.
Oh, okay. So it's a very slow read.
So yeah, it's you got to kind of slog through it.
Yeah.
And some parts are not as good as other parts. So, but I'm getting like, I just crossed, I think I'm around page 400.
Okay. That's
So
not
I
too bad.
have like about 200 pages left. So
Never
that's
done by the end
progress.
of the year.
Yeah. Maybe I'll finish it by the time I finish the Oktoberfest beer at the end of January.
There you go. Perfect.
Gary,
Yeah, no,
did you see? I saw.
we went
Oh,
down
I'm sorry.
to $3 and they had a 80s band down there, so it was pretty
Now,
good.
who are the daughters?
The $3. You know what? I have no idea. I
Have you
don't
ever
know
seen
who
them?
it's named after, or if it's just the owner. Maybe he has $3. I have no idea. I've never found out why they named it that.
Now, was this band better than Velveeta, or?
Um, I'd say they were probably equal to one another. I mean, besides all 80s, they did do some 90s music too. They do some, but they get like they're all like dressed up. So they all have glasses on. The one guy has the headband on. The one guy wears a bike helmet and like it was a tie with like a Best Buy badge or something on, and then the other guy wore a neck brace. So I don't know why with the neck brace what that it entails, but they were good. I mean, they were very entertaining. So we played a lot of the stuff that we knew. It was funny the crowd of people that were there because like as we were looking around, we're like, man, there are a lot of old people here. And then there was like a small sprinkling of younger kids and things like that. But we actually started a drinking game. There was this couple.
Surprise.
Yes, yeah. There was this couple standing there. Now the boyfriend or husband or whatever he was, he just would stand there, and she would be dancing in front of him, and his hand would be down like on her hip or something like that. But then he would reach, grab her ass, or all of a sudden a
Oh,
finger would
God.
like all of a sudden, so every time he did that, we were the four of us that were sitting there would go woo and start drinking. So they had no idea we were doing it, but it was just like every like 2 minutes it seemed like one of us was yelling woo because he was just like that was it. But he would just stand there. She'd be dancing and going. He'd just be standing there holding on to her. It was hilarious. Yeah, it's some good
Sounds like fun.
people watching. I enjoyed it.
Now, speaking of dancing, Gary, we like to talk about dancing on this podcast.
I know.
I saw something online today. So I think it's called Fabletica.
The pants, Fabletic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's is it Kate Hudson? She owns it.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So they showed
Wait. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. Oh, are you back?
I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess they're like these, for lack of a better term, like assless chaps.
Okay.
So they're like those, yoga pants like everybody wears. Except the kind of ass areas cut out.
I haven't
Like
seen
the
those yet.
front
Okay.
sides. Yeah, I haven't seen them either.
That's interesting.
And someone made like a funny comment, like, "Oh, I'll look great on the treadmill wearing these."
Yeah.
And then someone responded that they're actually for like pole dancing fitness, because I guess where the pole goes needs to be like on skin, not on
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Are you have you seen anything like this pole dance fitness?
I've
Has Shannon tried anything like that?
no, God, no. No, but I have seen it online, but I don't. I'm trying to think if there. I think there is one down here somewhere.
There's one in Scranton.
I'll have to look it up now. But no, I actually, from what I've heard, it's a great workout because I mean you look at when
Well,
these
for
girls
your
are up there doing that
core,
stuff.
yeah, I mean it uses your shoulders,
Yeah,
your arms, your core is like monstrous. Um,
if you're doing it right. I mean, if you're going to you see some of these strippers sometimes, it's like they could use some more pole workout dancing because
yeah.
some of them don't use it right.
So do you think that would be something like Shannon would ever attempt or go to?
I doubt it. I
Yeah,
doubt it.
I don't think Jill would either.
No. Yeah. No. I don't think. Yeah. No.
Uh,
Yeah. Uh-uh.
Now, Gary, true or false?
Yes.
Let me ask the question first. True or false? At one point, you owned a stripper pole.
False.
That's false.
Yes.
Why do I think you owned one?
I don't know. I mean, if you think about my past endeavors, you'd think I probably would have owned one, but
Yeah.
no, never had a
Huh.
stripper pole. Nope.
Well, I guess that's what Amazon wish lists are for, Gary, right?
Exactly. Yet, let's say, haven't had one yet.
That's that's right. And now that you have a pool, who knows what you may have?
Exactly. Actually, there's a hole that is up at in the spot where you could do like where it's the shelf, so you could put a umbrella in. So that'd
Oh,
be perfect. Put a pole right there.
there you go.
Perfect.
Interesting.
That would come in handy. Yes, sir. Here, we'll throw a little.
What show is that from?
I have no idea. I don't know what any of these things are from, so it's just funny. Just actually, I was going to use the one before, but it would have been perfect at that time when you said you fell in the hole, and I didn't think about clicking it fast enough. So
That's what I sounded like.
oh, I gotta remember where these buttons are now.
Let's be ready because you may need the button. Is Sean in the waiting room?
No, he is not.
Bum, bum, bum.
No, he is not. I think you're right. He might be thinking it's 10 o'clock his time.
Yeah. Do you have anything to do tomorrow? Work?
No, just school.
Do you want to tackle news of the weird?
Sure, we could do that.
And now it's time for Gary's News of the Weird with your host, Gary McDaniel. And coming to us live from Tampa Newsroom, the one and only GMC.
Yes, sir. So I have a request for a news story that I'm going to read right here for y'all.
You gonna start with that one?
I'm going to start with that one.
All right.
All right. I'm dating a 23-year-old woman who looks like an 8-year-old girl. I'm not a creep. A hunky travel blogger has hit back at claims he is creepy for dating a 23-year-old woman who looks like an 8-year-old girl. Dan Swigart, 26, recently began romancing reality star Shauna Ray, whose growth was stunted due to treatment she received as a child for brain cancer. Ray, who weighs 50 pounds and is 3 foot 10 inches tall, is the subject of the TLC reality series I Am Shauna Ray. Swigert recently shared several snaps with Ray on Instagram before posting a video to the social media site vehemently defending their connection. It's long been a struggle for Ray to date, with the pint-sized personality previously telling the Post that she's underestimated and excluded because of her appearance. In his clip, Swigert revealed that he reached out to Ray with flowers after seeing the first season of her show. The pair soon met in person and went on several dates together. It's very important to remember that Shauna is an incredible 23-year-old woman who has a disability, he explained. So as you are building a connection with her, it's important to acknowledge her disability and look past that and build it with she is an individual. Oh my God.
Who has the disability, Gary?
Oh man. So Swigert continued, as soon as you see that she can't have a real world connection with someone else, she dehumanizes her. You dehumanize her. Holy crap, what the hell? She is a human being. She deserves to have relationships and connections with whoever she wants. Swigert, who hails from the UK, appears in the second season of I Am Shauna Ray, where he is seen for forging a connection with the pint-sized star. But the Brit has
Doing
been
what?
blasted by viewers with someone
Did you say
saying he is
forging?
sick for thinking of Ray as a legitimate love interest. What's that?
Did you say forging?
I don't even know what. Yes, forging.
Okay.
He is seen forging a connection with the pint-sized star. All right, so.
All right. I just got a text message. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay.
Sean may be joining us momentarily.
Okay. So let's do this. Hold on. Oh, there he is right now. So here you go. Picture of her. As you can see, she does look like a little child.
Yes.
So that
kind of weird.
It is kind of weird looking. It looks like he's with his daughter.
Yeah, it does.
Whatever.
All right, let's take a break from News of the Weird.
Yeah.
We are joined by
your
special guest tonight.
You're good. I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Sean, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing, Brian? It's been a while.
Yes, it has been a minute. Very good to see you. And
yeah, see you too. Face to face, right?
Yeah. So wanted to first of all, thanks for hopping on tonight, and
sure.
Wanted to talk to you because of your kind of passion with your podcasting that you have, the Fightlete Report, as well as Pro Wrestling Enforcer, because it's a big weekend this week with the Royal Rumble taking place. So one, I wanted to catch up with you and actually talk to you because we've been messaging each other for years, but haven't really connected. So
for sure.
So first of all, how you been?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. No complaints here.
Yeah. Just surviving.
Yeah, getting through everything the last few years with all that stuff. But I wanted to talk to you, kind of get your origin story. How did you end up getting kind of so involved and interested in professional wrestling and then MMA?
Well, I think you were a big professional wrestling fan. You and
I was.
You and your brother, Paul. Your guys are both into wrestling, and I visited some, a couple times. If people don't know, we were cousins, so
That's right.
So you guys watched the WCW. And then it was like around that time I played that video game. What was it? And WCW versus the World, the one on N64.
Okay.
So that game got me hooked into pro wrestling.
Okay.
Whatever that was,
I always
WCW,
wondered.
NWO. Yeah.
I kind of always wondered if I had some little bit of influence with it because, of course, uh, our Aunt Rosemary,
Mhm.
she would visit me a lot when I was kind of getting into wrestling,
Yes.
and so I think she kind of grew accustomed to watching it with me because I would make her
Mhm.
watch it, and then she probably realized if you liked it and I had watched it, so I
Yeah.
was always
Yes.
wondering or curious if that was kind of a connection there.
Yeah. I think it was. It was just about. I had to discover it for myself. So it was like playing the video game, getting to see all the moves, and see this is different than like what WWF was doing. It seemed like more like international and appeal to it. Yeah, it had more international stars. Let's be honest. WCW did have more of the international lucha libre, the masked wrestlers. WWE tried to copy that at the time, but they weren't successful. I think WCW just provided that. It was almost like AEW, what AEW is providing
Right.
now. I mean, there's bad parts of every promotion. Of course, WCW had its fault, but I feel like there was a great wrestling product within it. If you didn't like the big names like Macho Man and Piper, and if you thought that they were, not aging well and taking over, like Kevin Nash or Scott Hall, but there was all these lucha libre wrestlers. It was Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Chris Benoit, Psychosis, and Jericho. That's, I think, got me, for actually was a WWE live show. My dad took me back in 1998, I think it was. That was my
Okay.
first ever wrestling show that I'd ever been to.
Okay, cool. And how did you kind of get into the MMA part of it?
MMA was actually because of professional wrestling. Because
Okay.
actually I had watched some MMA prior because I had like a black box, and it was like, oh, this is kind of like pro wrestling, but they're fighting for real, but it was like from Japan. It was like Pancrase, or I don't know what the promotion was. Oh, it was actually Pride Fighting Championship. So that got me into it. There was a video game too. So that me and my friends in college used to play. And then Ken Shamrock was in the game. I'm like, oh well, he used to be in the WWF, so I'm gonna play this game. We had fun playing it. And then Ultimate Fighter came along, and that was right after the whole wrestling, because it was like right after Monday Night Raw, and the Ultimate Fighter was the first time that we saw UFC fights on TV, and we watched the finale between Bonner and rest in peace, Stephen Bonner. I don't mean to make this a long-winded conversation, but Stephen Bonner, rest in peace to him because he passed away recently. And Forrest Griffin, they had most incredible fight ever, and it wasn't even the main event. It was for the Ultimate Fighter.
Right.
And so when you look at that, and this is a combination when we saw Brock Lesnar jump to MMA, it was like hard to ignore, like at that point.
Right. Now, how did you get into kind of the media aspect of covering professional wrestling and MMA? How did that whole avenue open up for you?
Well, for me, I just got started at the local level. It was like I was going to MMA shows. A friend of mine, he introduced me to doing media. This is before I went to school, and then he was like, "Well, do you want to come on my podcast?" And I was like, "Sure." And he had me talk about MMA, and he's like, "Oh, there's another guy who does a strictly MMA podcast. I'll get you connected with him." So I called on his show a couple of times. Then I actually got connected with another guy, and just through like social media, because he said, "Oh, I seen you on this guy's podcast. You want to come to MMA shows with me?" And I did, and he took care of the whole, getting us credentialed for the event. And there were like local fight promotions, and we got to see UFC fighters before they became in the UFC fighters. They were just regional guys.
Right.
So I went to a couple shows with him under his own platform or his media brand. And then a couple of years later, I started my own brand after I went to Illinois Media School. It was actually around that time I had my own brand called the Fightlete Report, but it's not until I went to media school that I really dove in full time. Like I used to just do videos with my friends talking about the fights, recapping the fights, but I wasn't doing interviews. It wasn't until I had my own radio platform through the media school that I actually started doing that.
And how long have you been doing it now? It's been a few years.
Yes, yes. So I've been doing it since I graduated in 2015.
Okay.
I've been doing MMA, and I've done professional wrestling throughout that as well. I've like started and stopped, and then I started really getting into professional wrestling after the pandemic.
Okay.
Like during the pandemic, you know,
Yeah.
in
And I've
coverage, but yeah, but I've always been a fan, you know, throughout the time.
Now, Chicago seems to kind of be, you're kind of in a unique place because Chicago seems to be kind of a hotbed for professional wrestling, in particular, kind of up and coming wrestlers for both men and women.
Yes.
Tell people kind of about like what makes Chicago unique. What's so special about that's coming from there?
Well, it's just where I originally wasn't born in Chicago. I was born in San Francisco and, you know, relocated. But I discovered that Chicago was huge for professional wrestling as a teenager because I just saw like the amount of people lining up to buy tickets where we were at Ticketmaster at a mall while we were outside the arena, and it just kept growing and growing. And it was just amazing. And then when I discovered independent wrestling years later, I just saw, wow, there's this whole other concept to it that's going on. They're filling out bingo halls and, you know, small venues with professional wrestling. And then it just started growing from there. And then I realized, wow, we have a lot of great wrestlers that are coming from the whole Midwest to Chicago for these shows every weekend to perform as well. And there's wrestling schools in Chicago, which I had no clue about as well. So it was just, you know, growing up and seeing that happen in front of me since I've been going to indie wrestling for 15 years and just getting to know all the talent that's happening. And it's amazing.
Now I want to ask you, is there anyone who sticks out, you know, who maybe be who's big time now that you saw, you know, back in the day?
Yeah, plenty of them. Too many
to list.
I mean, I can name a few. I mean, Ali, obviously. Ali was actually trained by my friend Steve Boz. Steve Boz was in the WF back in the day. So Ali is, you know, obviously we know him from WWE.
Right.
Where we have Cora Jade, who was in NXT. So that's pretty huge. And then in AEW, we've got Sky Blue. That's one of the newest ones. She really rose in like less than 2 years. I didn't even get a chance to interview her. So, but you know, she skyrocketed really fast. So, I mean, those three stick out. I'm sure there's others as well. We have Tony D'Angelo from NXT as well.
Okay.
This came from Chicago.
Cool. Now I saw one of your most recent kind of interviews was with Maria Kanellis, the former WWE star. And I have to laugh because when Joseph, my oldest son, got back into wrestling, which I think was probably about 2007, 2008, roughly. Shortly thereafter, so him and I started watching, and then that was kind of when she came up,
right?
And then she appeared in Playboy.
Yes.
And I will admit, I went out to the bookstore to grab a copy of that. And then when I was watching the interview with you and her, I could kind of tell. I think you have a same sentiment toward Maria as maybe I do.
Oh yeah.
How was it to meet her?
Oh, well, she's been wonderful. I met her maybe once or twice before that, but that was with this past year where she brought this promotion, Women's Wrestling Army, and it was where I wasn't looked at as a fan. She was actually respected me as someone that was, you know, covering her event, and she was excited to have me.
Right.
So that was awesome, just to and have her just have her talk to me, not even worry about getting a picture, but having her talk to me like 10-15 minutes. Hey, which match did you like the most, and giving me advice on what I'm doing, and me giving her feedback. So like that's just wonderful getting to know her. I mean, the one of the most intimate things is just seeing her with her daughter, and they were running the ropes in the ring. That was before the interview, and just walking in there before like anybody else, and no fans were there. Wrestlers were going over their matches, cutting promos, doing the TV stuff, and just getting to see her and her daughter there. That was amazing. Like no one else has seen this. I told my friend who just happened to come along with me, like he didn't have a ticket to the show. He just happened to come along with me. So we both went to the back. I said, no one's here right now. We're seeing this.
Yeah.
Nobody else has seen this but us. This is amazing.
That behind the
You're
scenes.
seeing, yes, you're seeing people cut video promos and stuff like this. No one's witnessing this, us. Like it's just amazing. So this is this amazing memories. And she's so gracious. She's so gracious and very kind.
Yeah, she seemed really, really nice, down to earth,
Yes.
it was when she was talking to you, which was, cool to see. Let me see what else. That was the other question I had for you is, anyone who follows your, Facebook page or Instagram, you
Mhm.
post a lot of pictures of yourself with some of the, biggest stars,
Yes.
in the game. What's kind of give us some like pointers or tricks on how to get these pictures with people such as Dana White, Drew McIntyre, Britt Baker, to name a few.
Try to get them before they're famous. Well, with Dana White, that was pure luck. If you want me, that's a whole other story. If you want me to tell you, but that's just pure luck and connection.
Let's hear it.
I mean, just going to independent shows. Just go to independent shows and take pictures of as many people as possible. I mean, and there's conventions too. I met, but I mean, Drew McIntyre paid less than $20 to meet him. So it's like, and he was the Impact Wrestling champion at the time. I mean, $25 that's a steal compared to what he is now. So
Right.
conventions and stuff like that. But like Britt Baker, I met her so many times on indies, got to talk to her. She probably doesn't remember me, but like I talked to her for like 10-15 minutes before nobody else knew who she was. So it's just like,
Yeah.
go to an independent wrestling show and try to find a good one that brings in, talent from other states, not just from, local talent, but, brings in up and coming stars and get to network and take pictures of them. I recommend taking a picture of almost everyone you can. You never know who they're going to be in the future.
Right. That's what I want to talk to you about too, is I know one of the wrestlers you've covered before, her name is Masha Slamovich.
Yes.
Now she was actually in our area, I think over the summer, at the Troop Civic Center, wrestling kind of one of our local female wrestlers, Adina Steele. Are you familiar with her?
I have heard of her, believe it or not.
Okay.
I kind of try to get familiar with as many of the women wrestlers as possible, because that's kind of like my niche that I try to cover, So, and try to get interviews with them. I've actually interviewed another girl from near Toronto. Her name is Nova. She's really incredible as well. And we're going to have another one that's from Iowa. She actually trains at Seth Rollins Academy, back in Black and Brave. So I try to branch out and get, people from all over, not just the Chicago area. And I've recently had a couple other women from other states as well. But yeah, so I do know of Athena Steele. It was mostly just recently. I haven't watched her matches or anything.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen her. I've known about her for probably 3 or 4 years now. And she posted the pictures of her, and when I saw Masha, I was like, that looks like someone who Sean has posted about.
Yes.
And I like cross-referenced it. I'm like, oh, it was. So I said, that's kind of neat that, someone who wrestles in your backyard is wrestling in my backyard as well.
Yes, Masha is definitely going nationwide with her. She's definitely in demand, and that's a good thing.
All right. And then I want to, you had mentioned too, when we were chatting, through Facebook about you coming on, just recently, the death of Jay Briscoe.
Mhm.
And the Briscoes, um, maybe to the casual fan, who just follows WWE,
Yeah.
may not be all that familiar with the Briscoe brothers, Jay and Mark. But Jay was tragically killed last week in a
Mhm.
head-on collision.
Mhm.
His two young daughters were in the back seat as well. Both of them are facing an uphill climb.
Yeah.
Um, Talk a little bit about the Briscoes as a tag team, and then maybe Jay
Mhm.
as kind of what he's meant for, I guess, over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah. Well, the Briscoes are one of the best tag teams you'll ever see in pro wrestling. I mean, they're unforgettable, when they're together, and they handle business. They've won so many accolades, championships. I have their DVDs, from Ring of Honor all the way back to when they first started. And yeah, they're one of the most incredible tag teams that never really got, seen on TV, and deserve to be there. They're tough guys. I think they're from that generation, where they were the manly type. They didn't take no for an answer. They didn't back down. Something maybe, I don't want to get political, but maybe missing today's, world. Jay Briscoe is one of the guys that, he was a devout Christian, and he did not pull any punches, and with his what his beliefs were, and he would tweet out what he thought, what he believed in, what he thought was the truth. So I respect him for that, but together, when they're in that ring, like, everybody loved them. There's no denying that. There's just so much dynamic, so much innovative movements, and their charisma was off the charts.
Yeah, and I've heard of them and kind of knew of them, but I had never really watched anything with them till the last week. And
Yeah.
some of the stuff they do it's brutal.
Yes.
There was just earlier this month, there was the dog collar match
Yeah.
between the Briscoes and FTR.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all busted open. They're doing pile drivers
Yeah.
on steel chairs.
Yeah.
But they're kind of contemporaries with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn
Yes.
from back in Ring of Honor days. So just kind of to give you kind of what level they're on, with that. Before I get too much later, I wanted to get your opinion and kind of predictions for the Royal Rumble this year. What do you
Yeah.
see happening?
I don't know. I really think it's a crapshoot. Really, like, sometimes it's more predictable than others, because, like, I think people thought Brock Lesnar was going to win it, and that's what happened last year. But he didn't show up until the end, right? He wasn't actually announced until he showed up, I believe, right?
Right.
Didn't he lose like a title match, and then he ended up in the Royal Rumble? I think it was something like that. I forget last year's Royal Rumble. So for this year, I know Cody Rhodes is coming back, so that's pretty huge. That he's going to be coming back, and it seems like this might be centered around him to get that title shot against Roman Reigns. And would he disrupt or end the bloodline storyline, or at least cause a disruption by beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? So that's the key. We know Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is, in all likely, he's probably out of the picture. But we also heard the interesting thing that Stone Cold was offered to take on Roman Reigns. And after Stone Cold's match with Kevin Owens, that would be very intriguing to see him against Roman Reigns as well. So could Stone Cold appear in the Royal Rumble? Anything's possible, because they always leave a few, entries unannounced. I think Cody Rhodes is going to win the Royal Rumble, unless The Rock is in this match.
That's who I think. I think it's going to be Rhodes this year.
Yeah.
Now, do you think The Rock is? Do you think he's actually out, or they're just kind of playing us?
And I don't know. I think he's out, because he said he couldn't do it, but you never know, right? It's anything is possible. So, I mean, he might show up, he may not win it, or he might win it all, or he doesn't show up, or then he challenges Roman at WrestleMania without being the Rumble. I think they want the Rumble moment to happen for The Rock, for him to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So I believe Rhodes is going to win it. But as far as The Rock, anything any kind of scenario could play out possibly. But if it's a thing where it would work out, where The Rock could probably be in a triple threat match and just show up unannounced later on Raw, and okay, now we're gonna have a triple threat match. You never know, right? So anything's possible. Only the writers in WWE know at this point.
Do you think it's? I just thought of this now, but do you think it's possible that Roman Reigns somehow gets involved in the Royal Rumble and wins that, and then while he's kind of celebrating, The Rock comes out?
That could be a possibility too. You never know. That's interesting, Brian. I like that. We saw Brock Lesnar do it, right? He was a champion. He went into the Royal Rumble to win it all.
Yeah.
And put his belt on the line. But
now
I don't think Roman's going to do it because he'd have to put the title on the line or something.
Right. Now I have fantasy booked the women's Royal Rumble, but before I tell you my plan, what do you have on the women's side, since, as you said, women wrestling is your specialty?
Well, yeah, it is, but I follow mostly the independent women's wrestlers. Like, I have favorites in WWE, and right now I feel like they need to do something with Raquel Rodriguez. So her winning the Royal Rumble would be huge, but I don't see her headline WrestleMania against either Bianca Belair or Charlotte Flair. I don't see that. So maybe you'd have to add someone in if you gave her that moment at that time. And I think the Royal Rumble's in San Antonio, right?
Correct.
Or where is it? Or is that
San Antonio?
San Antonio. Well, so I know she's from that area, right? Raquel Rodriguez.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. But that's not my final pick. I think Rhea Ripley has a good shot of winning it as well, because what she could challenge Bianca Belair, or she could rematch on Charlotte Flair for a WrestleMania rematch. But there's so many other questions. What about Becky Lynch? And there's also been the proposal that Rhea Ripley was going to fight Ronda Rousey at this year's WrestleMania. That's another rumor that's going around. But neither of them have a title.
Right.
So how would that work out? Why would that be a WrestleMania match? So I think Rhea Ripley has a good chance to win it, but we'll see.
Okay. And I thought,
I think, and going back, I think Raquel Rodriguez would be a great story because she's a babyface now, and maybe we just want to push her and see where it goes. Like I said, the winner of the Royal Rumble doesn't necessarily going to be in a singles match at WrestleMania. They could be in a triple threat or fatal four-way match at WrestleMania.
And I kind of got this sense too during Monday Night Raw yesterday, that they were maybe hinting with Charlotte and Bianca.
Yes.
Maybe kind of facing each other at WrestleMania, maybe unifying the women's belt.
Yeah, that's
Possibly.
Also a possibility. Yeah.
Now here's my fantasy book. The third entrant to the women's Royal Rumble is Tessa Blanchard.
Oh, wow.
And she wins it, similar to Ric Flair when he entered third back in 92. And she challenges Charlotte, and it's kind of a legacy versus legacy. And you bring in the Four Horsemen. She's fighting for her father's honor. Why does Flair get all the praise when, Tully was the one kind of doing all the dirty work for Flair?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to sell out Hollywood, but as a wrestling fan, that's what, a wrestling fan for 40 plus years, that's what I want to see. And I think they would be able to make an amazing, storyline out of that. Any chance Tessa Blanchard comes back? Okay.
So I wish that this could be a possibility, but it's more than likely not happening because unfortunately with the past of Tessa Blanchard, it's just, she doesn't even get that many independent bookings. Like, we haven't seen her in Chicago for 3 years.
Really?
And she used to be in the Chicago area, in this area all the time. She used to work every region, like every weekend. She'd be in New York. She'd be, in LA. And we just don't see that anymore because of, unfortunately, her skeletons in her closet. I won't bring that up, but if anybody wants to Google, there's YouTube videos about it.
Yeah.
And I just don't think WWE at this point is going to risk bringing her in. AEW had passed on her. All these promotions have passed on her already. And it's a shame. Like, I watched a video recently. It's like, what happened to Tessa Blanchard? Like, I even put a meme out where it was like, you were the, like, it was Anakin Skywalker, getting beaten, slashed down by Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, you were the chosen one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is, and what happened? And if anybody wants to see, we don't have to go through it now. There's YouTube videos out there of what brought her to this point. Like, but she used to be featured at the promotion, the big promotion by me, Warrior Wrestling. She was the Warrior Wrestling Women's Champion. She was Shimmer and all these women promotions. And she was everywhere. And now we don't see her.
Yeah. Well, I first found her on WoW, because my youngest daughter got into wrestling and kind of was into the
Okay.
Rousey, Charlotte, Becky when they were
Yeah.
hot for like wrestling, WrestleMania 35 or 36.
Yes.
And then we were watching WoW, which I think was on either Friday nights or Saturday nights locally. And
Mhm.
like, I loved Tessa. I was like, I can't wait for her to come to WWE to, she's got to challenge, Charlotte,
Yeah.
because it's a perfectly made storyline. The two daughters
I
of
know.
the, four horsemen. But so you're saying not to hold my breath on Saturday night.
Well, unfortunately, Warrior Wrestling, our promotion, they had to cancel not one but 3 events, and many people have pointed at the fact that she was supposed to wrestle Sky Blue at their August event, being the reason why they didn't sell enough tickets to hold these shows. But that
Okay.
stays out here. I don't want this actually. I'll maybe probably edit that part out, because I am friends with the promoter of Warrior Wrestling, and he says it's because people are busy for the summer, and it was the first summer out of the pandemic and stuff. So if you can edit that out, please. But
We don't edit this, sorry, but
okay, no worries, no worries.
but
He won't find it. He won't
summer
find it,
is,
but-
there is a lot going on in the summer, so
right,
that's
right.
certainly understandable. Let's see. 2 more things I just wanted to talk to you about before we get
Mhm.
going. Your own like personal fitness journey. You've recently taken up some MMA training with like an MMA style trainer.
Well, I actually did do some of that a while ago. A few years ago, I worked out at the UFC gym, and I hired a personal trainer. He did Muay Thai. Now I'm actually working with my good friend Steve Boz, because he's a professional wrestler.
Okay.
He has Chicago style wrestling, his promotion. He has a wrestling school, and he also does personal training. So he does everything out of that the facility. And yes, I started doing weightlifting with him. And we do weightlifting for cardio, which means, my blood's pumping, my heart's pumping, and it's good. It's a great way to lose weight. And it's been awesome to learn from him what he does
So
to stay in shape.
Are you doing
49 years of age.
Are you doing low weight, high reps, or
Yes.
heavy weight?
More low weight, high reps.
Okay.
But then we switch it up too, and so yeah, that's been fun, for to go there. And sometimes I go in the back to change, and some wrestlers are there in the ring working out.
And then any chance, have you ever explored getting into, maybe not into the squared circle, but working as like a referee or color commentator, or like an interview, like a backstage interviewer for a promotion?
Well, with CSW, I haven't done anything official on their shows, but I actually went to the school. If you watch my interviews from the CSW, I forget what they're called, but I'm interviewing, basically, if you go back about a year ago, I'm interviewing wrestlers at the school, and they're doing their stuff in character. So I interviewed a group of the younger wrestlers, and they were like a heel faction. So they talk crap to me and insulted me, and I was laughing, unfortunately, which I have to learn not to do when they're doing that. But I've had many interviews like that. I had an interview just recently, and some lady just went up in the middle of our interview and asked the wrestler, "Can I get an autograph?" He just threw the poster. I couldn't help but laugh. Like, I can't believe he's happy right now. He's like totally in character. It's just like, This is the fun part of it, and I do want to learn more of, like, instead of the shoot interviews, doing like the kayfabe interviews, for entertainment, for show. And Boz is he's probably gonna help me along with that. So maybe one day we'll see if I can get a spot somewhere. But I definitely want to do stuff like that. For refereeing, you have to go to wrestling school, so you got to learn all the bumps and everything.
Right.
So there's no difference. Same with a manager, you still got to pay to go to wrestling school. But maybe the announcer and the commentator thing, I might have a future in.
Cool. And maybe some acting lessons so you don't break
Yes.
break character. And then finally, Sean, next year, WrestleMania 24. Do you know where that's being held?
In Philadelphia.
That's right.
Mhm.
So I wanted to extend the invite to you if you want to come. I'm about 2 hours away from Philly, 2 hours
Okay.
north. So the invitation is out there if you want to come, and maybe we can venture down to Philly together.
Sounds good.
For
Sounds good. There's gonna be if you go to a WrestleMania, there's more than just WrestleMania. It's like a whole week of events. And so
Yes.
I encourage everyone to check it out. At GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, they'll be holding their annual festivities. Like like they have their own schedule of shows as well. And there's all kinds of wrestling that you never thought you'd have a chance to see. But yes, I will definitely get back to you about that, because that is going to be awesome.
We went to WrestleMania. We went to the one at MetLife, my daughter and I, which I think was that 35?
I believe it was the one right before the pandemic.
Yes. And then me and Gary, say hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
We were supposed to go to the one in Tampa because that's where Gary lives. And then it got canceled, so we couldn't go to that. And then the next year was again in Tampa, but we didn't end up making plans to go. So, I would like to go to WrestleMania again and kind of.
Definitely. Oh, you froze
You
up.
froze again. You're frozen.
Oh,
Well,
is that a sound effect?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's just for him. There he is.
There I am.
Yeah.
You got whammied again.
Let's see. Gary, you still have news of the weird you want to do?
Nah, we're good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sean, do you want to put your plugs in for
Yes.
all your endeavors?
Well, check out Pro Wrestling Enforcer Podcast. You can find me at Pro Wrestling Enforcer Podcast on Instagram, at PW Enforcer Pod on Twitter, and you can find me on Facebook as well, Pro Wrestling Enforcer Podcast, and a YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Enforcer Podcast, and also the Fightlete Report is on there as well. So there's two separate Instagrams and Twitters for that. That's at Fightlete on Twitter and Fightlete on Instagram. I'm also still covering MMA. Not quite as frequent with like the regional stuff because we really don't have that much since the pandemic, but there's some fights coming next month that I'm looking forward to checking out. They'll be streamed on UFC Fight Pass. So, and I have some interviews that I'm going to be conducting for that as well. So we'll be doing some more MMA stuff. And I look forward to it because I enjoy, professional wrestling, MMA. To me, it's all entertainment. It's all engaging and fun. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's like how much you really respond to it. A crowd can respond to these athletes going at it.
Yeah, that's the fun part, is being in the crowd and kind of having a say in how things go.
Yes.
Well, thanks again for hopping on.
Yeah.
Proud to see all the work you're doing, and
thank you.
Continued good luck, and hopefully now we'll stay in touch more frequently.
Yeah.
I want to catch up with you and catch up with your dad as well.
Oh yeah, we will.
Send my best to your dad.
Oh, thank you.
And that'll be all. So again, any pro wrestling fans, be sure to check out my cousin Sean's stuff. You'll see the stars before they are stars.
Yeah, I also want to tell you who to check out. You guys need to check out one female wrestler who's doing amazing things, and she's only 18 years of age. Billy Starks.
Yes.
With a Z at the end.
I've seen her.
Yeah.
She's on AEW too, right?
You have seen her. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she did AEW Dark, but she's doing mostly independent stuff, GCW, but she has like the most amount of intergender matches than anybody else has had. Like she's wrestled guys that have never wrestled women before, and she's just awesome. Like this is one of the top females out there. You guys have to pay attention.
Okay.
To.
Thank you for that. And maybe we'll even have you on. I'm thinking about doing a WrestleMania kind of like special podcast.
Okay.
So maybe
Sounds good.
we'll have you back on for that as well.
Okay.
All right. Thanks again, Sean,
All right.
for hopping on.
Thank you.
And we'll be
No
in touch.
problem. Okay. Take care. Have a good one, guys.
You
Good
too,
night.
Sean.
Have a good night. Stay safe.
All right, Gary, that's going to do it for us. Special thanks to Sean Lennon and my producer extraordinaire, Gary McDaniel. Hope everyone enjoyed the show. We're running a little long tonight. Get to bed, Gary.
Yes.
And we will see you next week.
Peace out.